Hello, this is Dr. Rita Marie, and today I'm excited to talk about adrenal stress, adrenal fatigue, and what that means, and what causes it, and what some of the things you can do to avoid it and reverse it. So let's start with a little bit of basic physiology. Why not? Everybody hears about adrenals, adrenal fatigue, adrenal burnout. Oh, I have adrenal burnout. My adrenal glands are getting into it. But not that many people really know what the adrenals are, how they work, and how they do their job. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background. This will just be 101 level. I won't go into all the details, but your adrenals are two little glands. They sit at the back of your, in your back, right below your kidneys. And they have been charged with the job of protecting you from stressful events. So in the olden days, it was, being chased down by a saber-tooth or a gorilla, and you need to be able to run fast, climb a tree, get out of the way, or fight. I'm not going to let you, I would run away from a tiger before I'd try to fight, but you may feel like you want to fight. So what it's been coined in our modern day society is the fight-flight response. So your adrenals are responsible for the fight-flight response. And what they do when this happens, it kicks your nervous system into a part of it called the sympathetic nervous system. So you're in this sympathetic dominance mode. And in sympathetic dominance mode, things happen to help you to run, to help you to climb, to help you to be fast and get away and fight. Your blood is all shunted to your extremities, right? To your muscles so that they can work. It's shunted away from your digestive tract. So if you just ate something and now you've gotten all stressed out, or you have to run away from a tiger, your digestion is going to shut down and you may end up with a tummy ache because the food won't get digested. But what's more important, digesting the food or being food, or preventing yourself from being food? I'd say the latter. So you get all set and the adrenals produce a hormone called cortisol and a neurotransmitter called adrenaline. And you've all heard of the adrenaline rush. The story about the mom whose kid got trapped under a car and this little 95-pound woman went in and lifted the car up and her kid got out. What happens after that? What happens after the fact? Does that 95-pound woman go, wow, I'm really strong, let me go try that again? Or does she collapse in a heap on the floor? She collapses in a heap on the floor because it takes so much of her energy and it's mustered, it's given there, it's this heroic measure, but it leaves her exhausted. So let's translate that into our modern day life. You wake up in the morning, you're worried about being late for work, you turn on the news, you hear about the latest disaster, the financial ruins, you're worried about the report you have to get your kids off to school, get their lunches. By the time you get in the car to drive to work, your heart is pounding, your palms are sweaty, and you're a wreck. Why? You're in sympathetic dominant mode. You're in fight-flight mode. Your adrenals have been working hard all morning to basically help you run away from these tigers that aren't real tigers. So you're physically ready for the runaway, but there's no physical runaway, right? So you go off to work, and one of the things that cortisol, the hormone that gets produced by the adrenals, one of the things it does is it kind of turns off the high-level functioning part of your brain. It's up here, the prefrontal cortex, and it turns on the survival part of your brain, the back part of your brain, your limbic system, the primitive brain, the reptilian brain. So what I like to say is that when you're in adrenal stress mode, your wizard brain goes to sleep and your lizard brain takes over. Now, which brain would you rather have in place if you're going to take a test and you're all stressed out to take a test? Lizard or wizard? Lizard's going to blow it. Wizard's going to be able to help you get through. What about the deadline you have at work? Wizard brain or lizard brain? Which is going to work better, right? So you want to be able to learn techniques to shift yourself from lizard brain to wizard brain at an instant. And there are techniques like that. And so what else? The adrenals do this. At what cost? Your adrenals use more vitamin C than any other part of your body. It sucks up vitamin C. It just uses vitamin C in helping make these processes happen. So you end up with a vitamin C deficiency. Well, what kind of things can result from that? Well, vitamin C is important for your immune system. So maybe you catch the latest cold that's going around. Maybe it's also important for collagen, which is the structural connective tissue in your body. So maybe you'll end up with varicose veins as a result of chronic adrenal stress, because your body can't keep the strength of your veins, and so some of the blood leaks out. Maybe you end up with fibromyalgia because the integrity of your muscles is disrupted. So there's a lot of things that can happen as a result of adrenal stress. One of the things is it disrupts thyroid function. It slows down your metabolism. The other thing that it does is it causes fatigue. I mean, big time fatigue. Like the lady who just went into a lump after picking up the car off her kid. Now imagine doing this all the time and you're just exhausted. So it's adrenal fatigue. And what we do is we test for the adrenals to see what state you're in if we're trying to restore them. If you suspect, because there's different stages. The first stage of the adrenals becoming exhausted is them being hyperstimulated. So when you measure, all your adrenal hormones are way high and you think, oh wow, that's really good. I'm really ready. No, it's not good. Because first of all, with high levels of cortisol, what turns off? Your wizard, right? What else does it do? The high levels of cortisol affect insulin, which causes your cells to become more insulin resistant. Okay? The high levels of cortisol affect the conversion of thyroid hormone. We can talk about that in another video, but thyroid hormone conversion to the active form. So your metabolism stays slow, you gain weight, you get puffy, your hair gets dry. There's all these things that happen as a result of this adrenal fatigue. So you don't want those high levels. And the other thing is, when you have high levels, you know that you're going to crash. So either that's a signal to you to put things in place that cause you to slow down and access the more meditative, calm, restorative part of your nervous system called the parasympathetic nervous system. And meditation's a great way, and yoga's a great way, and something called heart math is a great way, and there's lots of great ways to do that. But you have to become aware of the situation, and you have to consciously do these things until they become part of your psyche. And then after the adrenals are way high, there's stages where they start to be low, and I'll test people and I'll look and say, okay, well, you have really high levels at a certain time of day and really low levels at other times of day. So let's work on building these up and maybe bringing this down, because you get what's called dysregulation of your circadian rhythm. And maybe you're really tired during the day and you're too wired at bedtime to go to sleep because your cortisol levels go up. Because you get into bed and all you could think about is all the stresses from the next day. You can't sleep when your cortisol levels are up here. You're ready to get out there and fight. Right? So your adrenals are really, really important. And it's really, really important to nourish your adrenals, to eat really good food, to eat food that's loaded with the vitamin C and the B vitamins that your adrenals need. And there's a ton of herbs that, depending on what's going on for you, and I teach people how to figure out which herbs would be best based on their specific biochemistry. So start with eating really well, getting rid of the white flour sugar products, lots of greens, and find ways to control that stress so you can preserve those adrenals. So if indeed you really do get a saber-toothed tiger running from you, or you do have to pick a car or a heavy object off someone you love, that you have the reserves to do that.